Like everything I touch on here. You guys want to kick in?
Let's start.
Fuck it, let's do it. Yeah. Welcome, this is the Whiskey Roundtable. We are your hosts. I'm Joe Clark.
Big J. Todd Dunbar.
Karen, how you doing?
Karen Rowe.
So she can't join us tonight, so we're one man short, one lady short. So we got basically grab a whiskey, grab a cigar. Let's go on a little journey tonight with three dudes. Some whiskey. So we're kind of straying away tonight a little bit, I'll tell you in a second. But we want to thank you definitely for joining us tonight. Please view us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. And also on YouTube, when you go on our YouTube channel there to watch the videos and stuff, please hit the subscribe and like buttons as much as you can, and that helps us out. And basically, that's it for that. If you want to come on the show, bring a bottle of your favorite whiskey, whether we prefer it's unopened. If it's something that you can't normally get, we always say it can be open. But I wanted to make sure, I thought about this, I don't know, some guys, a lot of the members haven't reached out, most of the admins coming on the show, is that when we say bring a bottle of your favorite whiskey to, be on the show, it's not like you're bringing it here and leaving it with us as a fee to come on the show. You're taking it home with you. We're not going to sit here and totally man-bear peg your drink and we just drink all that guy's whiskey, fuck him, and get him out. But no, we just take the sample, we do it properly, and you take the bottle home. That's it. Right. Yeah. So just in case anybody was wondering, I wanted to clear here. Yeah. Anybody else got any announcements? Anything you want to say?
No, not at the moment. Good.
All right. On tonight's show, we are featuring. It is one of my favorite distilleries. It's a Scotch, so we're getting away from the bourbons a little. I think we're going to kick on a few shows. Maybe let's do some Scotches and Irish. It is Glenrothes, the Whiskey Maker's Cut, and it is a higher proof Glenrothes. So I'm sure we'll get to that also. And what are we smoking tonight?
I am smoking a 770 from Royal Havana Cigar. It's a Habano Ecuadorian cigar, which I've been smoking, Dave at Royal Havana Cigars. 38448 Lakeshore Boulevard, Willoughby, Ohio, 44094. Dave is, again, as I say every show, is kind enough to supply us with all of our cigar needs. Cigars, ashtrays, lighters, everything that we need, cutters. Dave does all kinds of events, Christmas, parties. He does birthdays, anniversaries, weddings, private parties, all kinds of stuff. Matter of fact, they're doing a party for it's the Louis Run this weekend.
Oh.
And that's Sunday, and he's supplying all the cigars at the last spot in Perry. I can't think of the name of the place off the top of my head, but so they'll be selling cigars over there as well. So, Dave takes good care of us. Good guy. So I wanted a couple shout outs here real quick. Jackson Gray Jewelers over there at 516 East Washington Street, Chagrin Falls, Ohio, next to the Village Martini. And also on the other side is Hunan. Give him a shout out. They're doing a Kentucky Derby party tomorrow, which obviously you won't get this episode till next week, but it's going to be a good time over there. So besides Jackson Gray Jewelers, check out the Village Martini, 516 East Washington Street in Chagrin Falls, Ohio, and the Clifton Martini, which is at 10427 Clifton Boulevard in Cleveland, Ohio, 44102. Both places take reservations, and they're also starting to get real heavy into bourbon and scotches, so they're revamping their whole bar, and not only the whiskeys and scotches, but they're also doing wines as well. So And obviously martinis, that's what they're noted for. So give those guys a shout out. Good group of guys. Have a lot of fun every time we go there.
And go see them.
Go see them. Go check them out. What do you got, Joe?
I got shit.
Well, what
I'm
about
not smoking
what about the Cleveland Bourbon Co-op?
Yeah.
Oh, we got. I'm sorry. I'm losing.
I know. I'm teasing.
So I'm
you.
adding a couple things here, like the music and other things I normally
He's
don't
taking
do.
over some details over here.
We have the Cleveland Bourbon Co-op. We have the Village Martini and Wine Bar here, and also their other location, which I didn't, is Clifton. And then we also have Corso Royal Havana Cigars. And then if you have any, car troubles or anything like that, I do Mercedes, BMW, Porsche, Audi, Toyota, Honda, Ford, pretty much any domestic, Asian, or German import car. And that is 5116 Richmond Road. You can call us at 216-464-9003, 216-464-9003. That is Premier Automotive of Cleveland.
That I got to cut you 1 second. He sent me a picture of that 930 Turbo.
Oh yeah, I have more pictures I was gonna send you, and I forgot because I got
That's
busy.
right.
But
Tell me about that car.
79 930 Turbo. It is a lower model car. It looks like it's been sitting for a couple years. Older gentleman has it. It's all original. Nothing's modded. Stock exhaust. It's nice, man. And Greg especially knows that that's a unicorn car. There's
Exactly.
not a lot of those 930 Turbo 79 running around these streets.
79 they claimed was a bastard year for doing maintenance on them, meaning that to change plugs and different things like that, you had to drop the motor and tranny to get to all that stuff. Like my car doesn't have that issue.
I don't know. I've never worked on one.
Yeah.
This is the first 79, so I don't know what we're all doing quite yet.
Yeah.
I think I heard it's when I pulled it in, I noticed a manifold leak and
Common.
what else? Oh, it had a high idle, super high cold idle. I'm like, oh, this
So
is
there's a sensor that causes that.
oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
just out of experience.
Right.
So it's something that is it's a sensor that causes that, and it's.
But those sport buckets in that thing are
I know they have the Recaro chair. I think Recaro made those seats in that year.
dude, super hugs. I mean, like huge
Yeah.
bolsters.
Right.
And what I liked, what I liked about sitting in that car, the thing that is kind of nerdy on the cars for me is that you sit in that leather. It's like the real leather. You get that old school leather jacket creak in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's that leather rubbing around, and you smell it, and you're just like.
There also is a something you might, if you're going to be doing anything on that, you might also want to check the fuel heater. There's a fuel heater. It's about less than the size of my phone. That is common to go bad on those, which can cause that or cause hard cold starts.
Yeah, super easy cold
Yeah,
start. Just dude, it had one of those old school alarms in it with the magnet.
Oh yeah.
You hold the magnet by the dash and stuff.
Right.
When that thing
Boy,
had put
that's
in like
old
1984,
shit.
you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was funny.
So anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's it. We do a lot of maintenance on higher end cars and stuff like that. Obviously, some of the guys that are friends of mine on the Facebook and stuff, like they see, I post some of these cars. Some of them I don't post because I don't know if I want people to know they're there, but
Right.
it's neat. We get a lot of cool stuff. Sometimes right now it's kind of like a little car show in there, pretty much. We got a lot of neat shit. Old 633, 78 633 CSI, which is a sport package. We have that. We have a couple old Jeep Wagoneers in there. They're really nice right now. We got the Porsche. Is it 1, 2? I think we got 3. We have 3 Porsches in there now.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
all early 80s, late 70s. So 2
Those are
early
the best
80s,
years, man.
179 turbo.
I mean, the New Year's are great too, but I mean that era. I mean that, Porsche was always on the map, but that 78 to 89, and that's the big
That's
thing
the
right now.
iconic
Yeah, that's the iconic style.
Yeah.
So I agree. So.
Yeah.
I real quick, I want to give a shout out to my brother Steve Williams and his girlfriend from college. Last time she was at the dorm, she left this at his dorm, so she forgot to take it home. So I hope her neck isn't cold. But anyway, go ahead.
Done. What do you got? Anything?
Nothing today.
Okay. Well, that's easy. Well, I guess it's a car show again. Let's talk about
Learning the plots. So.
All right. So that's pretty much it. As far as I don't have any real big announcements other than the co-op. Actually, a lot of picks coming out soon. It looks like within maybe by the time this show is out, they're going to be announcing the new picks.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the new barrels we're going to be getting, and please, guys, make sure if you do order, pick your stuff up as soon as possible. I understand people have their things, and I mean I get that way sometimes too. But there were guys that went literally months,
Correct.
couple months, maybe longer after that last pick,
Right.
and they didn't, they just didn't pick up their bottles at all.
Correct.
And I don't see why you'd want to. These admins, I agree with them. I think they should do a couple pickup times, and if you don't, you don't.
You forfeit it.
Yeah,
That's
forfeit. Just let somebody else have it that really wants it.
Absolutely.
I agree with that.
And stop secondarying our whiskey around here. That'd be cool too.
Yeah, and that's a lot of that shit going on too.
Yes.
I agree.
Yep.
Yeah. So again, it sucks because Carl and Hank and the admins, all the admins, they take it serious and they do a really really good job, and it comes down to people's disrespect and self entitlement, and you know what. These guys are working hard to get to a goal, and all the stuff that they do for the co-op and donate for everything that goes on, and Christmas parties and all that stuff. We had the Christmas party, somebody stole the bottle of booze. I'm just like, what are you doing? And it's a shame because these guys are a good group of guys, man. I mean, we've met a lot of the admins and we've hung out with them. Some of them have done our show a couple of times. But Hank and Carl, they put their heart and soul in it, and it almost sounds, sometimes it seems like some people just don't get it. So if you don't get it, and you have that sense of entitlement, get out, let someone else come in. So hate to be that way, but it needs to be said.
Yeah, it was said that way. Actually, I think yesterday.
So I didn't catch it, but
yeah, it was pretty much said just like that, actually. So
enough's enough.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
nobody's gonna miss you. Trust me.
Yeah.
So
we like our whiskey and we like to drink it.
That's right.
And some things are hard to get around here, and it's sad to see it disappear, and then noticing it on the secondary market, appearing that you know who it's from. It's like, come on, man. But anyways, let's go back to the positive side of things.
Yes.
Right.
And so we got. All right, guys, this is a section of the show called The Whiskey Wizard, brought to you by Doug Dunbar, a.k.a. Big Sexy. Enjoy, guys.
So welcome to the third installment of the Whiskey Wizard. We enthusiasts seek greater understanding about what goes into making this desirable thing we call whiskey, which takes incredible scientific knowledge, an artisan's skill and dedication, and a bit of the tangible wizard's alchemy of air, light, earth, and fire. On this segment, we want to take a look at distillation. Last time we reviewed the mashing and fermentation step. Recall that after about 4 days, the fermentation process slows to a stop, and the mash is about 10% alcohol. That wash or distiller's beer is then ready for transfer to the still for distillation. In short, distillation is the process by which the alcohol and other volatile compounds are separated from the water and mash solids. It's a fortunate fact of nature indeed that alcohol becomes a vapor at a lower temperature than water, about 173 degrees Fahrenheit compared of course to 212 degrees for water. There are two basic kinds of still designs, the column or coffee still and the pot still. The column still serves to allow for continuous distillation. It was invented by the Irishman Arrhenius Coffey in 1831. At the same...
Keep going.
As the name implies, the column still is a tall, cylindrical, usually copper tube, about 3 to 5 feet in diameter, and up to 3 stories tall. Inside are a series of plates that have holes that allow the distiller's beer to flow from the top to the bottom in a cascade downward as the hot steam rises up from the bottom of the column. This volatilizes the alcohol that rises upward and out of the top where it is passed through a condenser to turn it back into liquid. Often the column still's distillate then passes into a copper doubler or thumper vessel which further catalyzes the liquid while undergoing what amounts to a second distillation. Here's a picture I recently took of a column still at Old Forester. The pot still is designed, well, it's basically a big copper pot. Because the spent grain has to be removed from the pot still, it can only make one batch at a time. Heat is applied to the bottom of the pot to vaporize the alcohol that then flows through a condenser coil where it is cooled back into liquid form. Here's a picture of a typical pot still. Now, pot stills are most often used for Scottish and Irish whiskey, but it's also used for a lot of American whiskeys. The shape of the pot still and its upper neck, known as the lin arm, and condenser configuration can be modified to favor a lighter or more full-bodied spirit. A tall upwards sloping lin arm tends to produce a lighter spirit. Consequently, if it's downward facing or shorter, that will produce a more robust spirit. Copper is the material of choice for still construction. There are a few reasons for this. First, copper is a great conductor of heat. Second, it also reacts chemically with the wash beer to remove unwanted sulfur compounds that produce off flavors. Now, if you look at the surface of a copper still under a microscope, it'd look a little bit like steel wool. And all this extra surface area allows for the copper to react with the unwanted compounds and long-chain organics and that are really going to produce undesirable flavors in the spirit. Now, reflux happens. That's when the vapor comes into contact with a cooler copper surface. Pot stills are the most common choice for Scottish and Irish whiskey making, but are also used for some American whiskeys as well. The shape of the pot still and its upper neck, known as the lin arm, and condenser configuration can be modified to favor a lighter spirit or a more full-bodied spirit. A tall, upward-sloping lin arm tends to produce a lighter spirit, whereas a shorter or low-angled arm tends to favor a more robust spirit. Copper is the material of choice for still construction. There's a few reasons for this. First, copper is a great conductor of heat. Second, it also reacts chemically with the wash beer to remove unwanted sulfur compounds that produce off flavors. If you looked at the surface of a copper still under a microscope, it'd look a bit like steel wool. All this extra surface area allows for the copper to react and filter some of the unwanted compounds out, as well as the sulfur compounds that are not desired in a quality spirit. Reflux happens when vapors in the still contact the cooler copper and condense again, falling back into the liquid. This helps to add more retention time to react with the copper. After a good amount of time, stills must be cleaned and reconditioned to reactivate and refresh its surfaces to allow for sufficient reacting with the mash and spirit vapor. Some distillers keep their stills polished and all gleaming reddish gold on the outside, while others prefer to let a colorful patina build up on the outside. Some distillers say that the patina may change colors from turquoise to purple depending on the temperature and exactly what they're running at the time. Kind of like mood ring, if you will. Okay, as the beer and wash is first heated to the critical temperature, around 145 degrees, the alcohols start to vaporize. That first 5% to vaporize is referred to as the heads, which actually contain potentially lethal compounds such as methanol. This portion is discarded. The ethanol that follows upon reaching the correct proof and taste is considered to be the heart, and this is what will be barreled and become whiskey. At the end of the run is the tails. Now the tails contain some ethanol, but also contain compounds like propanol that would add an oily, unpleasant taste. The tails can be recycled, however, to recapture some of the remaining ethanol. The leftover spent mash is often given to local farmers for hog feed. Remember, as we discussed last time, some of this spent mash is returned as sour mash to the next fermenter batch. As the spirit flows from the final distillation, it passes through a tall box or spirit safe. Here's where it can be measured with a hygrometer to measure its density. Here's where the cuts are made to divert the heads, heart, and tails of the run accordingly. Prior to 1983, only the local excise man had the keys to the spirit safe. Nowadays, the master distiller typically holds the keys for those operations that still use a safe. Now here's the spirit safe at Old Forester. that I took just a few weeks ago during our visit there. So for good spirit, with the right ethanol purity and cogenitor compounds, that'll result in having the desired balance of complexity. That, along with the flavor contribution provided by the barrel aging, will create the resulting whiskey that we hopefully will love and appreciate. And barrel maturation, my favorite part, is where we'll pick it up next time on the Whiskey Wizard. Remember, fine whiskey making does not take magic, it just ought to taste that way. I'm Doug Dunbar, and that's it for this installment of the Whiskey Wizard. Back to you, Joe.
All right, guys, back to the show. That's a lot of education for you. We always appreciate what you do, Doug, and thank you for the Whiskey Wizard. And back to us. Whiskey history on Glenrothes here.
But before we do that, I just want you to know that today in my travels, unexpectedly, just being in the right spot at the right time. So they say lightning never strikes twice. Today it struck twice for me. I was able to get a bottle of Woodford Ohio State Buckeye Pick.
Oh my.
Batch number 2, special blend. And I was able to get a bottle of Old Ezra number 7.
Seems like the Ezra 7 is starting to appear a little bit more lately.
So
yeah, that's good.
It was one
Got
per,
me one.
one per
Yeah,
you
weeks
did,
ago,
yeah.
yeah.
Nice.
One
of
per
my,
person, but I took advantage of it. I got my one. So.
Oh, you got it in Kentucky.
Yeah, I got it in Kentucky.
Did you try it?
Not yet. No, that's.
I think my bottle was like $34. But you know, we were just talking about this. You know, like 2 weeks ago, I was going to get a bottle offline because I get those every liquor store that sends to Ohio. They'll send me stuff. You know, send me notices, and you know, it came up, and I was going to buy a bottle. Then I looked at the price; it was like $80-some plus shipping. I went, you know what? There's no way I'm paying that, so I forfeited.
What's
it.
retail? $34.
$34
Okay,
I paid for it today. So.
Couldn't remember if it's 34 or 39.
And then coincidentally, somebody that I know went in there right after me and got the last bottle. So I was the second to the last bottle. So the guy even said, he goes, all right, I got one bottle left. I said, I'll take that bottle. And he says, it's one per customer. I was like, I see how you are.
We actually have it. There's an open one back here too. If you want to try that tonight,
I wouldn't mind.
it's
little
super
taste.
good. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just a taste.
Sounds good.
Super good, man.
Yeah.
Super good.
I'm curious.
We're gonna do a show, I think, here sometime this in the future. Here we got it. It's the old to the new, because we have an old bottle, and then because it used to not be it was close to cast strength. It was 100 and can't believe I'm forgetting 101 proof originally. Isn't it? Right? Old
What's
Ezra
that?
101.
It's 117.
The new one.
Oh,
is.
the
old
new
one was
one
101, right?
101, I think.
Yeah.
It is.
Okay. So
Don't
the
hold
old
me
one
to that.
originally was 101, and I used to get it back in the day for $17 to $19 tops, and then it went up to like 25 or 26, and then they came out with this one. It's 34. It's like but it's good. It's good. It's a different drink though. It is.
Well, that sounds good.
It is good. It's good.
Give that a try.
Yeah. It's cool.
All right, well, let me do a
Let's
little
get it.
history. And my history might not be as good as Miss Karen's, but I'm going to cheat and read it how it was presented. So the Glenrothes was established in 1879 by James Stewart, the owner of the nearby McAllen. Remember that for later, kids. He had taken over the lease of McAllen in 1868, and things were going well during the time. And he roped in a few friends, including solicitor named Cruikshank and 2 local agents from the Caledonian Bank, Robert Dick and Willie Grant, to raise cash for the expansion at McAllen and trading as James Stewart and Company. Business prospered so good, in fact, that long before the lads felt the itch to build another, even larger distillery 3 miles downstream at Ruthes.
Is that a town?
That is a town.
Ah.
Okay. Glenrothes commenced in spring of 1878 on the site of an old sawmill opposite of the town cemetery. The neighboring burn providing water, power, and plentiful supplies of pristine spring water, the setting was perfect, but the timing not so much. The summer, Britain plunged into the worst economic crisis for almost a century, of course. Dick and Grant had borrowed heavily from the bank to finance the new distillery, only to see the bank itself heading for collapse at the end of the year. With trouble and uncertainty looming, Stewart split the partnership and headed back to Macallan. So he came from Macallan and went back to Macallan, basically left them guys high and dry. And while the other three struggled, as W. Grant and Company, not the Glenfiddich one, because I guess that's associated. I know.
It's like Kentucky whiskey; they're all in bed with each other somewhere.
Right.
Somebody's related to Jim Beam.
Remarkably, they managed. Geez, I just lost my spot, kids. Remarkably, they managed continued funding the construction, and in May of '79, local press were shown around what was clearly a smaller, through no less impressive distillery than the originally one planned, with the local paper declaring it extensive yet compact and being the stamp of superiority. Did I get all that right?
Sounds like it.
All right. The first spirit flowed from Glenrothes stills on 28 December 1879. No, 28th of December 1879. Word spread, and thanks to its unique flavor, structure, and body, Glenrothes, did I pronounce that right? Soon became highly sought after as a top dressing in blends, so much that today Glenrothes still is found at the heart of some of the world's finest blends, such as Cutty Sark and the famous Grouse. Only 3% of the distillery annual output has ever been used for malt whiskeys. The rest all providing the all-important vital ingredient to the famous Grouse. Okay.
I didn't know that.
Okay. In 1887, Grant and Company merged with the Islay Distillery Company from the Highland Distillers Company, and in 1999, Glenrothes was reunited with its sibling, the Macallan, when the Edrington Group and William Grant and Sons came together to buy Highland Distilleries. Today, it sits proudly in the center of the Edrington Group's portfolio, along with Highland Park, Glenturnt, and of course the Macallan. So
currently Macallan and Glenrothes are related. They're
yes.
sisters.
So what happened?
Brother companies, sister companies.
And it all came back from what did I say? His name was Stewart. Did I have
Jimmy
that
Stewart,
right?
not the race driver.
No. So
maybe related.
yeah. All right. In 1887, Grant and Company merged with Distillery Islay. Did I already say that?
Yeah.
Yes, I did. I'm sorry, kids. I apologize. This is Karen's job. I'm just filling in today. Where the distillery history is quite straightforward, the Glenrothes single malt has enjoyed a singular history of its own. The concept of Glenrothes malt whiskeys in a particular and vintage single malt was actually conceived by Barry Brothers and Rudd, London's oldest wine merchants. Okay, so they were into wine as well. BBR and the Glenrothes had been working together since 1920s, when BBR approached Glenrothes and to be the home of their blended whiskeys, Cutty Sark, in 1993. They approached distillery with a idea creating a Glenrothes single malt that BBR would then distribute. Being wine merchants, they brought them to the concept of bottling whiskey by the vintage, and so the Glenrothes single malt was born. While the brand was distributed efficiently, run by BBR, effectively, sorry kids, it was still owned by Edrington in 2010. Edrington and the BBR did swap the Glenrothes single malt and Cutty Sark, allowing BBR to fully focus on selling vintage malts, while Edrington rolled Cutty Sark into the blends portfolio. In 2017, things came back full circle when Edrington bought the Glenrothes single malt and Rothes House, the brand's spiritual home, back from the BBR. He bought it back from the BBR, and today both Cutty Sark and Glenrothes single malt are both firmly in Scottish hands, and BBR is back to the wine business. So they separated. Okay, so since its inception in 1993, Glenrothes single malt has been synonymous with vintages inspired by BBR's wine background. The premise was to select bottles the very best whiskey from single year to provide connoisseurs with an ever-evolving snapshot in time, an approach that's proven to be very popular over the decades. So there we go, kids. There we go.
So I have Kentucky, man. Like the families are all intertwined with each other in some way or another. It's like the Beams Distilling for the one why am I drawing a blank? That we did last week.
What did we do last week? Heaven Hill.
The Heaven Hills. Yeah. So you have the Beams all involved in that, and then you got them, Macallan and Glenrothes, and then they have a wine company, and that, you know what I mean? It's kind of cool to see. Yeah. All the different, now you understand why all these different industries now trade barrels.
If you look at the Jim Beam family tree, it's kind of a who's who of whiskey. And
telephone pole?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Where's the fucking branches, man? Dude, ain't no tree. That's firewood.
The Whiskey Maker's Cut is the flagship at center of the brand new Soleo? Did I get that right? Spanish? Soleo collection. The results of the master whiskey maker Gordon Motion. They gave him free rein to conceive and create his perfect Glenrothes malt, matured exclusively in first filled sherry oak cask. He selected his preferred cut and a solid alcohol of 48.8%. So it's 96, almost 97 proof.
Yeah, that's that one.
That's what we got.
And that's a high. Most of Glenrothes stuff is usually 40 to 43%, something like that.
Correct.
Yeah.
They distilled a higher proof than most other whiskeys in Scotland. So it's also why they've had a number of fires over the years. So.
Right. But you know what I've noticed lately, Doug, is you're seeing a lot more. You like Scotch, and I'm really into Scotch, so I'm always looking at. You're seeing a lot more cask strength stuff coming from Scotland now.
Yeah, that's definitely the trend.
I'm interested to try a lot of those because, I mean, like bourbons, we drink the cask strength stuff. We're like, oh, this is amazing. So I wonder how that's going. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I'm going to repeat myself a little bit. I did take some other notes that were not given out, so to say. So Glenrothes Maker's Cut is a single malt Speyside Scotch situated adjacent to the Burn of Rothes in the Speyside region of Scotland. Glenrothes Distillery was founded in 1879 by James Stewart, who had previously been employed at the Macallan Distillery. Okay. The legend behind these sherried malts is master whiskey maker Gordon Motion, which I said earlier. So I have a couple of things that, which again I'm just going to repeat myself, but the one of them is at the end is going to make you cry. It is matured. It obviously is matured in first fill sherry cask oak barrels, non-chilled filter with higher alcohol content that Gordon Motion prefers at 48.8%. Okay, so listen up. In 2020, Glenrothes is launching an all-new product, so everything that we have is no longer.
They're not going to do any of this anymore?
No. So all the Glenrothes that that people have now, everything that you see on the shelves, starting at the end of this year, is not going to be made anymore.
Not offered here or not made, period.
They're saying it's not going to be made. They're launching a whole new
flagship,
variety.
Whatever you call it.
Flagship, exactly right.
A set of new offering.
What, all no age statement bullshit now?
I guess.
Well, I don't know if they're not going to keep the vintage.
It's
I don't
like
know, but
concept,
I don't mean to
but-
be a Debbie Downer, but it's like year after year, everything in whiskey that I love fucking disappears.
Yeah, well, they're going to launch it in Australia, which I don't understand why they're going to launch it in Australia, but
Well, I don't know. Maybe it'll be really good. Maybe all of a sudden we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sometimes new stuff gets launched. You're like, oh, wow, this is really good.
They're saying that starting in 2020, all the stuff that they produce now is going to go away, and they're producing all new stuff. So we're going to have to stock up.
Fuck you.
We're gonna have to
Anyways.
stock up. So.
All right. Well, Doug, you want to get us some snifter notes?
Yeah, let's start a little more description of tonight's whiskey. So we look at the flavor graph here. I'll just hit the peaks.
Oh,
Spicy,
flavor graph.
rich, vanilla, and fruity are the peaks. Description. Introduced in September 2018, the Glenrothes Whiskey Maker's Cut is a single malt from the brand's Soleo collection. As we said, the collection ages entirely in sherry, seasoned oak, and is 100% natural color. The bottling, however, matured in first fill sherry seasoned casks, named for the process for dyeing grapes when making some sherry styles like Pedro Jimenez. This collection replaces all existing Glenrothes expressions. This single malt bears no age statement and is bottled at 48.8%, as we said. Okay, tasting notes. Glenrothes Whiskey Maker's Cut is a Jekyll and Hyde whiskey on the nose and mouth. To sniff, a tannic and woody base serves up cooked mushrooms, vanilla, and strawberries.
On the nose, cooked mushrooms. Taste.
Cooked mushrooms, vanilla, and strawberries.
I'll get vanilla and strawberry out of it.
Yeah.
I don't know about any cooked
like
mushrooms. I just
cooked
had cooked mushrooms yesterday. I'm not getting any of that. In wine. I'm not getting any of that earthiness out of it. Are you?
No, it's very sweet.
Yeah, it's definitely
Light
So I
fruit.
definitely get the sherry.
Oh yeah, that's nose forward. Man.
It's pretty light too. I mean, it's kind of between light and heavy, but it's consistent.
It's
Yeah,
it's
you know
pretty
what?
oily for a Scotch.
You know what? After I switched it around and smelled it again, I get a little earth out of it. I do. I really do.
Yeah,
When you get into the deep pull of the nose, you'll smell that. You'll smell it.
getting some grassy notes and
I get kind of like I was actually just about to say kind of like a fresh field kind of smell to it.
definitely some dried fruit.
I get a lot. Basically, I'm getting. I don't even get that much vanilla on the nose. I'm mostly getting a.
I don't get any. Oak.
Very sherry forward. What am I trying? Very citrusy. I get a strawberry shortcake kind of thing to it.
Yeah. Just as you said that.
Yeah, like a strawberry shortcake
I
kind
knew
of.
that
I do
when I
get some strawberry, but
and that was in the tasting notes.
I don't get no whipped cream though,
Or in the
or sponge cake.
Well, we're going in.
Let's do it.
Okay, do you want to read the? Let me
Do it, tasting
let me
notes.
do the.
Tasty.
Okay. So on the palate, it descends into a playground of rich sweetness, buttery croissants, toffee, and goopy dulce de leche. A real fun contrast.
Let's do it.
That sure is good, man.
It is really good.
It really is good.
Oh man.
It really is. I'm gonna have to stock up on some of that. I really am. Well, I tell you what, the aftertaste is fantastic.
Glenrothes for me has always been from start to finish just a very tasty.
That is very nice.
Every
You know,
one of their expressions is good. Even that peated one. I'm not a huge
There's
fan
a
of it,
little-
but that.
Almost like toasted marshmallow.
Yeah.
Then you pick up
It's
the fruit
it's
and
really
then
good.
there's just an explosion of spices,
Oh yeah, it's
And-
spicy for sure. Yeah.
and I get the butteriness. There's there's like a butter, nice, I don't know, butter toffee.
I get the sherry in there about midway
Yeah.
through.
So kids, you got to understand that I am not a Scotch guy. I do like some Scotches, but I'm not diverse. Joe,
Tell him that when he's drinking a
and
Balvenie 14.
especially a Big Sexy. Big Sexy is a
Boy, this just
connoisseur of-
reminds me of why I am.
a big Scotch guy. He's more Scotch than he is bourbon
Light tap.
or whiskey, if you will.
Aye.
Joe does teeter both sides. I think Scotch is his love, but you know, he drinks Scotch sparingly, so to say. But he always drinks good Scotch. Me, on the other hand. You know, we've had Macallan 18, I'm sorry, Lafroid 18, different Macallans. You know, we have,
Fitches,
yeah,
Glenrothes,
yeah.
Balvenie.
I mean, we have some very good Scotches here, but Joe is
Dalmore.
more and Big Sexy are more the drinkers of the Scotch. But I have to say that Glenrothes is a very, very good Scotch, and I don't care. I don't think I've ever had one, and we have a lot of different ones, but
Oh, God, yeah.
I've never had one of those. And that's what you started me off on,
Yep.
with Scotch, because
Glenrothes.
I've had some different Scotches from my brother and a couple other people that were, you know, real smoky and heavy, and I was turned off by it. But you know, that's something I can drink all the time for
Yep.
being a Scotch, honest to God.
And
This
add-
is very friendly.
It is.
If somebody was just getting into Scottish whiskey, this wouldn't be a bad one to introduce
No, because
with them. But it also
Sorry.
holds up if you're you know, if you like the breadth of Scottish whiskey, this still holds up. I mean,
I agree.
it's just fantastic.
I'm going to hit it again.
and I wanted to say right when you were saying that to introduce. This is actually an okay Scotch to introduce somebody to.
Sure, that's what it is.
This is high proof,
I
and
know.
You don't, and it doesn't
even
taste like hyper.
nothing.
Yeah.
No.
You know it's going to get you in the end, but it's nothing.
This is LPR for any women that want to drink this.
Liquid panty dropper. But it is very different on the. I shouldn't say, but it is different on the nose than what hits your palate, though.
Man, it's really good.
Because I don't
For
get
sure.
none of the strawberry
I
shortcake.
get
on
their
it.
Jekyll and Hyde comment.
Yeah.
The nose,
Yeah.
you wouldn't predict the palate based on what you get on
Right.
No.
But I've learned that that's usually a good sign.
Yeah, sure.
Very good. Very nice.
That sometimes that can be with. I've learned with bourbon that can be a bad sign. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
can have something that's real pleasant, then you drink, it's like, oh god.
You know,
There's just something about the Speyside whiskeys that, I mean, they're all different, but that region has the highest density, of course, of distilleries anywhere in Scotland. And
You know,
when we visited there, we walked the Speyside Trail,
okay.
and you pass all these distilleries, and you know, one of the things that you learn is, of course, there's a misconception that the water comes from the River Spey.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the case. But there are a lot of nice springs that come out of the highlands to feed the Spey, and that's where these distilleries are located. You know, strategically by one of those springs in most cases. So, it's great, that great water that filters through the granite of the highlands. So.
You know, it's weird. Like if I'm drinking bourbon and smoking a cigar, I'll drink bourbon the whole night. But usually when I drink scotch and have a cigar, I will have one glass of scotch and I will sip that till my cigar is gone. It's weird how. That's not what I'm trying to say is. That's something I realized about myself is like when we drink scotch, we'll pour ourselves some scotch.
We're tamer about it.
Right.
Yeah.
When we drink bourbon and smoke cigars, we'll enjoy different bourbons, smoke a cigar. You know, even we'll try. We'll try 4 or 5 different types of bourbons. You know, but when we're in the scotch, you and me, that's our drink for the night, and that glass will last for 3 hours. Crazy.
Yeah, we'll pour a decent pour, but
Yeah.
we sit because The thing is with Scotch, and I don't know if you'll agree or not, is that there's a lot of flavor. Some of them aren't super complex, but the flavor is very loud, and it's always very. They're all different, but they're very tasty. It's like eating like a really good. I don't even know what to say. A really good
good meal,
candy
basically.
meal. Or you can really taste a lot what's going on there. They're very pungent on the flavor and the nose too, man. You know, one I haven't gotten into, and I'm new into the lowland. So
the lowlands are soft, and you get a lot of, in my opinion, you get a lot of the heather. They can have a lot of complexity.
They're all the highlands, the lowlands, the space side. The Isle is your. Did I say that right this time? Isle.
Isla.
I still can't say it right. Islay, Isla, whatever. And
just take the Y off the end, and you're good.
My brain can't do it. So you get that. They're just very, 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 very different.
Yeah.
And the difference between Scotch and a lot of the American, even though some of the Scotches, and I know Glenrothes also does it on some of their expressions. I think a lot is you have the way they dry the peated Scotches, and they have
the malting process.
The malting process where they burn and they fill a wood.
Well, they use peat.
Yes, they use peat, and it smoke dries it, and then the other one is
through the floor.
Right.
The
it gets that.
Process.
I don't know what the word I'm trying to use for, but we talked about it last time on the Whiskey Wizard and 2 times ago, and you do taste that in a lot of Scotches. This one I don't get that.
Well, no, and that's more consistent with the space oils. They aren't going to have that strong peat expression.
Yeah, because I think space sides usually use the other method, correct? Not so much the peated method.
Well, they do peat. They do use peat smoke in the malting, but I know it's just generally that expression is in the profile, taste profiles.
Okay.
So pronounced, but
yeah, you're more educated in all that scientific side of it than we are.
When I was in Kentucky, I did pick up some Highland Park 18, which is one of my favorite whiskeys in the world. So if I have a mission with you guys, is to turn you, to try to twist you a little bit my way to some of the more peated types of whiskey.
Well, you had the Lefroy, didn't you? The 18?
Yeah. No, if you like that, you'll be fine with something like Highland Park.
I did. I mean,
I actually brought the Lefroy 10-year cast strength.
Oh, you brought it today?
And it's here. It's upstairs. I just didn't feel like carrying the box down with my book bag.
Make sure you take that shit home.
Colilla 18 is my favorite whiskey. Highland Park 18 is probably my second favorite. I just think that's the perfect age for those whiskeys that are in those cool oceanic climates.
Okay.
In that environment, it takes longer for that whiskey to come of age. And I've just found about 18 is about the best point for those.
For Scotches in general?
Particularly those that are from those climates, the cool ocean climates that we have.
Is that like the Isle? Is that
the whole
18?
north coast, west coast of Scotland?
So you like that Lefroy?
Yes, absolutely.
That, to me, I didn't know an Isla could taste like that.
Yeah.
I didn't know an Isla could taste like. I've had plenty of it, and I'm always like, not my thing. Even the cast strength Lefroy 10, I can drink that. I'm not going to turn it down. A regular 10, get it out of my face. I don't want it. I will turn that down. Someone offers me that, I'll be like, no, not doing it. But that cast strength I like because it's got more flavor to it, maybe because it's cast strength. But that 18, I was blown away by the flavor on that. Even Greg was like, holy shit, it does taste good.
So that kind of supports what I was saying. I think that those island whiskeys, those oceanic whiskeys, all need longer to really develop.
Okay.
I had somebody. This was like almost 2 years ago. A friend of mine. He got is it Aberfeldy? Is that
Aberfeldy?
Aberfeldy, yeah.
It was a Highland single malt Scotch whiskey, 12-year.
Okay.
And it supposedly came back from Scotland. I don't know if you can get it here.
You can now.
Okay.
Yes.
And that was very good.
Incidentally, the Indians that speak the Mariners too.
Oh, there you go, Cleveland
Karen
Indians.
was here. She
Yeah.
would be excited.
So it's probably because of Joe Booze on the whiskey roundtable here.
But back to this, outstanding.
Okay.
Do we
Yeah.
want to? Is it time to rate, or we got more comments?
Read what?
Rate?
Oh,
yeah,
I thought you said
let's-
read. I was like, huh?
You know what? I'm not gonna.
I'm gonna. I haven't
I'm gonna-
finished.
yeah,
I'm
I'm
gonna take
gonna-
another drink.
Okay.
I'm gonna kill it.
I kind of pull a little
This
more
is to be
out
savored
of each.
for sure.
Oh, for sure.
That's really good, man. It really is good.
Nothing that they put out ever lets me down.
Really is
Is this
good.
fresh
Yeah, you.
wafers here?
Yeah, there was one right there.
It's my favorite Scotch. Is that distillery, the Glenrothes, Glenrothes.
Maybe I've overlooked it a little too much. But this
Well,
is
we
really-
have.
Yeah, there's quite a collection.
There
of
is
it.
and their stuff is very different from each other. And Greg has a lot of stuff in a box that I haven't even seen, and because he collects a lot of the Glenrothes stuff here. If you can see there, there's even a peated. I think I might have poured you some. They have a Glenrothes peated reserve, and it's totally different than any expression that Glenrothes has because it's not natural to their lineup. They actually discontinued it, and a lot of places are selling it at a high discount. They're like $22 now. I'm seeing online,
Right,
because nobody that drinks a Space Side usually drinks that. You know what I mean?
Well,
So I don't know if
is,
it was a failed project for them, but
That's quite special. That's what I would say.
this is really good.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
the higher proof really brought out a lot of the great things from them.
And like you said, it doesn't drink like a high proof whiskey.
No, you can. That's
Very-
dangerous. Yeah.
Yeah, very, very
So,
soft in its approach.
2 thumbs up.
what do you think, Doug?
Oh, no question.
All right.
If I had 3,
Oh man. For me, I don't
Well,
even.
I had something to say, but I'm
I
gonna
know.
leave it alone.
2 thumbs up. 2 thumbs.
All right.
For me, it could be 4 thumbs if I.
Yeah, and so you put his 3 and his 4, and give me another 4.
That's what we
We're
think
all
about
up.
it.
There
Yeah,
we go.
We're all the same, and
11 thumbs up. Let's do it.
absolutely, man.
We're gonna take. Oh, go ahead.
highly
I'm sorry.
recommend it.
So we're going to get into the news here, and I just wanted to say something I've been saying for the past couple of weeks is
a little splash?
the Bullet 12 year. There's more and more sightings of it, which is a good thing because one of these days I'm going to pop on that, and we're going to try that one. And okay, so this was a part of the news today that I thought was going to be really cool because it kind of has something to do with Big G here, and something that he has sitting on the bar over there that gets neglected a lot that I really liked. So the whiskey that captured Columbia. It was actually an article done by punchdrink.com, and it's Columbia's favorite whiskey, period. It is a Space Side, been around since 1909. It is in the USA, $30 a bottle. It is owned by, I don't know how to pronounce this properly, Diagea, Diaga, since 1997. I think it's one of the largest whiskey owners in the planet, pretty much. It is a blended whiskey. The major blend in it is believed to be Cragganmore. And
Look at more.
I say that because there is literally zero information on it. They admit that there's zero information on it. If you go on the website, they pretty much provide nothing.
Okay.
2.5 million bottles sold per year just in Colombia.
And I have it, or we have it, I should say.
They are the biggest customer, Colombia.
Okay.
Popularity continues to grow in Colombia every year, and it is called Old Par. Grand Old Par
Get the fuck out of
is
here.
one of the largest growing brands currently.
No shit.
Yep. Thanks to Colombia, pretty much. And that's pretty much. I thought you would be like kind of shocked by that because I saw that. I was just browsing through the net one day. I was like, oh, no fucking way, dude.
I think we only tried it
way.
once.
Literally.
Yeah,
it's,
it was
it's
good.
Really
It
good.
was good. I forgot all about it.
It's really, really good. It's
Okay.
different.
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah.
for a Space Side and
Right.
being a blend. It does not taste like a Space Side at all. At all.
I'll be
So-
damned.
There is a new company. They say new company, but I don't necessarily think it's a new company. But it's called Bardstown Bourbon Company. Kentucky Straight Bourbon. First release is Fusion No. 1, coming out in about a week after this show. It is a blend of their own 2-year estate rye and wheat bourbons mashed with an 11-year sourced bourbon. The company already produces about 40 mash bills for other major whiskey brands around the world, actually, not just Kentucky. It is 98.9 proof, and the retail is going to be $59.99.
It's not terrible.
Nope, and that's all I got today for the news.
All right.
And I think that's it for the roundtable.
Okay, we can
Thank you, guys.
take an intermission and get to the Whiskey Wizard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. We were going to do that, and pretty much that's it for tonight, guys.
Okay.
And I didn't want to go into a commercial, but I also suck at this, so we're going to skip that, and I'll edit that out, and we're going to go right into this. And that's a Whiskey Roundtable. Thank you for joining us tonight, guys. We are your hosts. I'm Joe Clark.
Big J, Doug Dunbar.
Thank you, guys. Drink, and please do not drive after you have a good drink. Uber.
Definitely. Be careful. We'll see you next week. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
All right.